Hello and welcome to today's PeopleSoft Healthcare Day session. My name is Sarah with Quest, and I will be moderating today's session. We have a few housekeeping notes to go over before we get started. Please remain muted throughout the session unless prompted by the speaker to unmute. If you have a question, please place it in the Zoom chat and the speaker will address questions at the end of the session as time permits. If you have a general question about the event, please contact registration at questoraclecommunity.org, or you're welcome to send me a message in the Zoom chat. This session is being recorded and will be available in the Quest content library for paid Quest members after the event concludes. At this time, I'd like to introduce today's speakers, Andrew Bediz, Brad Rutledge, and Paul Taylor. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Sarah, for that. Welcome, and everyone who has joined us today. Thank you for being here. We're thrilled to be a part of the Quest Oracle community and this event specifically. Today we're talking about AI, specifically beyond the hype of AI in healthcare, navigating Oracle AI and you. I'm Brad Rutledge, and I'll be moderating today's discussion. And if you've been getting a lot of questions about, hey, what's our AI strategy, or wondering how AI is actually shaping the future of Oracle-driven healthcare IT, you're in the right place. We've put together a good panel of experts to talk through a lot of the nitty-gritty things and answer a lot of the questions that you probably have. Today's talk represents a roadmap to help you navigate AI's impact on enterprise software with confidence. Our experts today will break through the noise and provide real-world insights on what's happening now and what's coming next. And with that, I would like to introduce our speakers, or let the speakers introduce themselves. Let's start with you, Paul.
Great. Thank you, Brad. I'm the founder, president, CEO of Gideon Taylor. I've been in the enterprise software space for, that's a quarter of a decade, long time. I really care about radical efficiency. It's magic to me when you can make the computers do much more efficiently what would be without them. I like to run counter to conventional wisdom where I don't like conventional wisdom, and I'm afraid that there are quite a few of those places. We'll probably run into a few of them today. And on the more innocuous side, I am building the world's largest jigsaw, at least commercially available, jigsaw puzzle in my basement here with 60,000 pieces.
We need to see some pictures of this thing. And what's the time frame for getting into the Guinness Book? That's my question.
Yeah, well, I'm not alone. It's commercially available, so other people have built it, but no one else has built it in my basement. So
that's awesome, Paul. It's great to have you here. Andrew, can you do a quick self-introduction?
Yeah, absolutely, Brad. First of all, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this discussion. I'm Andrew Bediz. I've been doing enterprise software for quite some time, almost as long as Paul. Ex-PeopleSofter back in the .com era. I've really been a fervent defender of user experience. I believe in good user experience, and that's why I've been involved in AI the last 6 or 7 years here. I've really been a pioneer in the space, do a lot of talks on this, so hopefully we can have a great discussion today. Side point there, I love backspin drop shots and taking care of my lawn. So that's a little bit about me.
I had a question about this. Did you just bypass pickleball and you moved already, right to the paddle tennis, or?
It's interesting, Brad. Yeah, I reside in the Chicago area, and in the Midwest and the Northeast, they have this thing called paddle tennis. It's like a modern day racquetball. Like my father played racquetball, so this is what I play. It's not in all areas of the country. They say you play tennis in your 20s and 30s, and you play pickle in your 50s and 60s. Well, paddle's the in-between sport. Right? You don't run as much as tennis, but you run a lot more than pickle rather. So it's fun. I hate the treadmill, so it gives me something to do.
And I will say he plays pretty good pickleball. I've gotten one for it.
I would imagine that. Well. I have a few friends here in Salt Lake City that hold down and just want to maintain racquetball. That sport is not dead yet. But anyway, well, thank you, Andrew and Paul, for being here. Let's jump right to it. AI is everywhere. It's in the headlines. Whether you're following that with your professional career or just as a consumer or citizen of planet Earth, it really is everywhere. And what we want to do today is break through that hype. We want to discuss what really is happening in AI, specifically healthcare IT, and how does that package up and relate to enterprise software today? So, um, you know, everywhere, one of the big questions is how does this relate to me in my real life job? So those attending today obviously are in the healthcare industry, and so Andrew, just kick us off. What's really happening here? What's the state of AI? From your perspective, what are you seeing? Help us set the stage.
Well, I hate to say this time it's different, but this time it's different. This is unlike other technical advances. This is not incremental. AI brings a whole new way to solve problems that we previously didn't have at our disposal. We come from a background, when you look at, circuitry and electrical engineering, it's ones and zeros, and that kind of gave way to a series of true and false decisions. And, all of our software up until recently was based on this true false decision tree, really, at the end of the day. And so what AI does is it introduces nuance and shades of gray. It allows us to make decisions without perfect information, right? And this is largely how things like autonomous driving have come to be, because in autonomous driving, you're not going to have a black and white situation. There will always be nuance. AI has really modeled the way the brain works, just how the human brain could never have spent a day in the United Kingdom. Yet if we go over there, we somehow know how to drive on the other side of the street, right? Nobody taught us how to drive on that side. Nobody taught us what those signs look like, but we can use inference from our experiences driving in North America. And so AI is very much the same way. We are maybe cracking 1% of the value and opportunity that AI is going to bring us. It's going to be a wild ride from here, and it's going to be very exciting. Now, as far as healthcare is concerned, I will just say we're going to talk a lot more about it, but what we're seeing out there is healthcare's adoption, I would categorize as cautious so far.
I like that word. Maybe a little slower than some of the early adopters. Maybe a little bit of wisdom that comes with that. Maybe the stakes are a little bit higher in healthcare. We'll get into that. That's interesting, though. Paul, so Gideon Taylor, your business is about business process automation, and you purchase an AI company. What are you seeing out there? How does this all come together and relate from your world point of view?
So we purchased an AI company from Andrew. So it basically Andrew was persuasive to me as in talking about AI. I think previously I'd actually heard his pitch previously and was a little bit skeptical. I kind of imagined thinking about PeopleSoft users, for example. I was trying to imagine a room full of PeopleSoft specialists trying to talk to Alexa in order to get their work done, and it just didn't seem like that was going to happen. But a lot of our work has really been around custom and focused self-service experiences. In the sense that we really started talking about self-service in terms of broader constituent bases interacting with core enterprise systems, and saying rather than just the people in the back room interacting with PeopleSoft, we've got employees, students, customers interacting with PeopleSoft applicants, interacting with core enterprise systems directly. And the user experience aspect of that, as Andrew referred to previously, is huge. And looking at the ability of AI to shepherd that personal user experience and make it much more personable, but also make it much more effective and efficient for people to interact with those enterprise systems. It was that interaction with enterprise systems in that much more approachable way that really told me this is where we need to go. in order to continue the exploring effectiveness and efficiency for enterprise systems.
You
And
know,
that's proven out. And that all happened before generative AI, before LLMs really burst onto the scene, and before um, AI chat really reached it really came into its own as it did in the past couple of years.
And LLMs, you mean large language models? Is that
Thank you.
right?
Yes. Yeah. Large language models,
Mhm.
which are the text-based way that generative AI is happening, ChatGPT, uh, Gemini, etc.
Andrew,
Paul,
were you going to say something?
yeah, I was gonna say, Paul mentioned, he just couldn't possibly imagine a PeopleSoft user using their voice to interact with the enterprise system. And it reminds me, of a similar experience when the mobile revolution was happening. I had clients say to me, oh, this, benefits enrollment's too complicated. Nobody would want to do it on a small screen, on a small phone, or and I remember talking to my kids like, well, you got to write that paper. Like, do you really, why don't you use this computer? Nobody wants to write a paper on a small screen phone. And yet what ended up happening is many of these students wrote papers on the small screen phone. So
Mhm.
sometimes it's hard for us to imagine what the future is going to be like, but never underestimate it. That's what I've learned over the years.
Yeah, yeah. The speed at which my kids can text with their
Yeah.
thumbs is I actually envision like some kind of competition with the
Yeah.
an old school typewriter person and a texter. Let's see what happens. That is really interesting. AI feels chaotic. I mean, I have to say, just in kind of my world, I follow tech really closely. And there's so much buzz around it. It's kind of confusing, and I think a lot of people are really thinking, when's the right time to jump in? And let me open up that question. How Paul, you jumped in, right? And you sort of like
Yep.
sort of got bought into this. Talk us through some of your thought process and thinking this is the right time for your business.
So, well, first off, yeah, there are, I'm on a number of newsletters and LinkedIn feeds and such forth, and see new AI logos pop up every week. Sometimes it seems like every day. There's a new AI tool that's better than everything before, and so yeah, it's changing all the time, changing every day. It does make it difficult to know, well, when do you jump on? Is what you're going to start with just going to be obsolete before you even get the implementation project done? So Andrew, what do you do about that?
Well, there's an old saying, there's no time like the present. Let's go back to the autonomous vehicles. Is self-driving, perfected? No, it's not, right? But if you sat there and said, I'm never going to use self-driving because I'm waiting for it to get better. I keep waiting for it to get better, to get to perfect. Well, what was the alternative? You're going to take the bus, right? And you're going to wait until it gets better. And then you look at a model car, you want to buy it, and next thing you know, wow, next year's model is going to be better. Maybe I shouldn't buy it. And then meanwhile, you're riding the bus every day.
Right.
And you're never getting those days back, ever. Right. And so it's the same with AI. I feel like you need to get on the train with the rest of the industry, because then you will be better off for it. You will have learned along the way. You will have stomped out your mistakes early. And as the technology advances, you're just going to get more value out of it. So start early, start often, and build momentum along with the industry would be my recommendation, Brad.
And I throw in there too. I mean, you have I think that there are, and we'll talk a little bit more about it along the way here, but it's so easy to be unrealistic in our expectations of what AI is going to do for us. And it's easy to expect, well, why should we do this right now when it's going to be better? It's going to be easier and easier and easier the farther along we go. the industry changes fast, the tools change fast. What doesn't change fast are people and processes. Any of the organizations that are considering this, that are here today, you can't go home and wave a magic wand. Take an AI tool, doesn't matter how good it is. Take that AI tool, drop it on campus, and all of a sudden everything's fixed. There are determined and thoughtful decisions that have to be made to change how things work and to implement new tools. So most of the work that goes into leveraging AI and really leveraging automation in general, all of that is going to take work, and you got to get started on that work. If you say, okay, well, I'm going to wait till the perfect tool appears or until the tools stop changing, well, that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Right.
And so you might as well get started on the work of figuring out how you're going to do this work. And like your illustration, the AI treadmill is just going to get faster and faster. And if your organization hasn't started the process of learning how to be agile and how to implement and how to leverage it, it's just going to get harder to
Right.
do so the longer you wait.
Yeah, kind of, looking at this, the video, and we've probably all seen some of these treadmill videos. It occurred to me while you were speaking about people, not only is the organization kind of run the risk of this happening, right? Like, no one wants to do this, right? No one wants to jump in and get run over. We're looking for the right time, the right speed, how to pace that. But the people of your company could also sort of be, trying to jump on the treadmill and doing that. And, it's kind of the fear when, looking at when is the right time. But your quick answer on that is like, now is the right time, and maybe not, jumping on the treadmill at full speed,
Yep.
but now's the time to get going.
My favorite, Andrew said, "No time like the present." I like, the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time is today.
There you go. There you go.
So yeah, it's already too late.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's too late to this.
Everyone's too late.
But don't feel bad about that. Just get started.
Now is the time. So let's change direction just a bit, because another thing that I hear a lot, and I see a study that came up, 57% of respondents cited data privacy as a barrier to adoption of AI. Is this concern real? Is this justified? Andrew, what do you think?
Well, in short, yes, it's 100% real and justified. I think part of the challenge is many of the software vendors are kind of weaving in AI in a black box sort of way. And so customers are left to not really understand how the AI is implemented. And this leaves you feeling worried. Is my data safe? And quite frankly, most of the software vendors out there, they do not tell you the details of how it all works, probably because it's a competitive reason. But it is a concern, and we have seen it time and time again. I would say that somewhere close to 0% of the customers I work with really understand how data security works in AI. Understand what it means to use a shared model. AI is expensive to run. Inference is expensive. So when you're getting a really, really cheap price for something, that's because you're sharing it with other people. And so you need to ask those questions. And what happens when it's shared? What's the effect of that sharing? And then how does your data get used? Does it get rebaked into training? Does it then get leaked out with hallucinations? Can your data be used to spread mistruths? All these are legitimate concerns. And that is why you have to have a really thoughtful approach to AI. There is no one size fits all. For example, I would caution against, generative AI is the way, we're only going to use that. I would say you're going to use the right models and the right AI for each situation independently. And ultimately, you're going to blend these things together to get the best possible outcome.
Give me just a 1 second definition of hallucinations. I don't want to get caught up on it, but I also don't want to assume everyone knows what that means. Just give me kind of a one-liner of what that means.
Yeah, I mean, the short of it is when the AI says something and it seems so sure of itself and it's so convincing, yet it's not true. And the reason why this happens is not because of a bug. It's not because the software isn't working, right? These are computers. They really don't think for themselves. We are not in Terminator. They are
imperfect. They're still
They are,
imperfect.
well, they're parroting human
Yeah.
beings.
Yeah.
And the human beings in this case are what human beings have written. And
Yeah.
usually what they've written, and that's publicly available on YouTube, on Reddit,
Yeah.
on Stack Overflow. So the AI is just parroting humans.
Yeah.
So if we all believe that humans are 100% accurate, then we have nothing to worry about.
Right.
But if
Okay.
we believe humans are sometimes wrong, then we should also be worried that maybe the AI can sometimes be wrong.
Every now and then, some of us are wrong, but
Yeah.
okay. Thank you for that definition, Paul. Jump in here. What are your thoughts?
Sure. Well, Andrew already said that you can't just say, well, generative AI is the thing, and so do everything with generative AI. I think it's really interesting how Andrew and I went to a conference, an AI conference last year, very AI focused, and in a breakout session that I was in, we were presented with 4 different kind of case studies or with these examples where we said, okay, here's a business requirement. Now, design the how to automate this requirement using AI. And so everyone came up with these 4 different breakout groups. Each came up with their automation for this business process, and they were all good. None of them used AI, and none of them needed AI. It really was just deterministic, conditional behavior. If this, then that we've been doing for years and years.
Mhm.
But the AI revolution really has helped the industry, has helped business break out in some ways of a confined way of thinking about things, and is thinking more broadly about using automation in general to build business process efficiencies. And that's good. That's great. It doesn't have to be AI. It can be deterministic in the sense, meaning either this or that. If this person is an international student, then or international employee, then applicant, then route them through this office before the hiring decision. All of those things. Yes, computers can do that, and it doesn't have to be Gen AI that does it. The actual tool belt should include generative AI. It should also include traditional AI, which traditional AI is there are 3 choices, and we don't know exactly how someone is going to ask for those choices. So use traditional AI to figure out which choice they're talking about, and which of these things, so they can use natural language in order to try to select between these. And the AI, it's still fuzzy thinking. It's still saying, I think at 87% probability that this person is asking about a leave plan. But it isn't, the solution is going to include that. It isn't all generative. You can ask generative AI, write me a 3-stanza poem about leave plans, and it'll do that. But you don't always need that, right?
Right.
Sometimes
You know what
need to know which
Well,
what leave plan do I need, and how do I kick off a request to start a leave plan?
You know
And that is
what
all
I
going to be Gen AI.
what I think I heard you say, Paul. I think it's really interesting. It's fascinating, even that a lot of the answers people are looking for could be and solutions could be resolved with this deterministic coding and process automation technologies. And now, what I thought I heard you say is now we're adding on another key component to the future of making things better, which is AI. AI is not replacing everything; it's enhancing and making things better. I know
I think Andrew had a comment on that.
Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say, one of the most successful practical use of AI to date, let's go back to autonomous driving. Autonomous driving, the outcomes are known. I'm either going to go, I'm going to turn, I'm going to stop, right? These are not large language models.
Mm-hmm.
These are deterministic outcomes that the probabilities of what the car should do is decided by AI. So So you're using AI to figure out what's the best possible path, but the paths are all defined, right? And so oftentimes I see clients immediately associate large language models as the future of AI, but the most advanced deployment of AI to date is actually not using large language models.
Yeah, interesting. I'm doing a quick time check, gentlemen. There's so much around this. We're still in that first part of setting the stage. I do want to jump forward and maybe get everyone, give this guy a break that's having a hard time on the treadmill. There's other things out there like DeepSeek and some other things. I wanted to maybe we can run through this really quick because we've got some other really good content to get to. But Andrew, maybe provide a little perspective on that.
Yeah, DeepSeek's a great use case. That study you cited just previously, I'm very familiar with that study. Actually, 43% of respondents said AI transparency is a barrier to their adoption. Well, I think what DeepSeek has taught us is that not all advancements are as transparent as they should be. I posted about this on LinkedIn as we're unpacking DeepSeek. A lot of stuff is coming to be known about that. But I think the takeaway is the industry moves very, very quickly. What we think are truths get invalidated in a matter of months, not years. And keeping up with this landscape is very, very difficult. And for our clients, I know organizations, this isn't their core business. Trying to keep up with it is almost impossible. I think that's really where it's key to have the right partnership to guide you through these changes, the data security, enterprise data in the model, et cetera.
Well, I'll throw in there before we go that I remember a business back in the early 90s. There was a business in our town called 386 Warehouse. It was basically come here to buy your 386 computers, and I thought, why would you name your business? Spend the money to put that on the wall when it's going to be 486 before you know it, and such forth. It's so easy to be tool fixed, to be thinking I got to find the tool, and then that tool is what's going to do it for me.
Yep.
You got to expect that things are going to change,
right?
And that means focus on what you're trying to accomplish. Use the tools at hand to accomplish what you need to accomplish. Don't wait for the perfect tool.
Yeah, that's a great point. Any comments on this slide? Google AI suggesting glue to cheese.
This is a funny slide. I wish it was a joke. It did actually happen. It's since been corrected. But what this is showing you is somebody, when they built an AI model, decided what the training data was. That almost certainly wasn't you or your employees.
Right.
When they made that decision, again, the AI just parrots human beings.
Right.
So in this situation, the AI told you to add glue to your sandwich, which is why it is important to really understand, okay, well, who owns this model? Who shares this model?
Right.
Who trains this model? Is it being trained by a different country? Which country? Does that align with my, corporate objectives? And so this is just a small little anecdote of how it can go wrong.
Well, and the 11-year-old is probably aware that those Elmer's glue, I guess, is edible. So, who knows? But that's quite interesting. I'm going to kind of power through a few things. We had talked a little bit about the industry, and I think you said proceeding with caution. But maybe talk to us a little bit about what we're seeing here with adoption.
Well, yeah, I mean, in my anecdotal experience with customers, I think I'm seeing somewhere broadly aggregated average, more like 1 in 4 has started venturing into AI. This came from a recent study that underscores healthcare is in more of a laggard position. Financial services and technology companies are leading the way with AI adoption. Similar to utilities, government, higher ed, it's a little bit behind, and that's not a bad thing to take some caution, but just don't get stuck in this position for everywhere. What I find to be a bit ironic, especially in healthcare, let's talk about admin systems and employees. We'll talk about the clinical side briefly a little bit later, but for the employees, right, this is a business that runs 3 shifts a day, 24/7. There are no breaks. Many people don't sit at desks. There are no desktop computers. They're left with their phones, scrambling, running from point A to point B. Who would benefit more from conversational AI than healthcare?
Right.
They are ripe for it. They will gain more value out of it than almost any of these industries. And so I think this cat will come out of the bag, and healthcare
Yeah.
will be rushing to catch up very soon. That's my prediction, at least. I think Oracle feels the same way, and I know we're going to talk about that in a little bit as well.
Paul, anything to add just with kind of the uniqueness of healthcare as to why they might be lagging or more cautious, I guess, is the word?
Well, I'm going to speculate as to why financial services is out ahead. I think that if you think about it, health, everyone, you don't have anything if you don't have your health, right? I mean, that's a very high priority, but you don't have much if you don't have your money either. And so, why is financial services trusting AI? And I think that the reason is because so much of that, it's so transaction intensive. There's so much opportunity for automation. And the reality is, like Andrew said, there's a huge opportunity for automation in healthcare, and including just administratively speaking, talking about administrative systems like we're dealing with PeopleSoft. So many transactions, so much going on that there's tons of opportunity there, and that's a dam that has to burst.
That's a great point. Let's breeze through a couple of misconceptions, and I want to move to the next section. We will all be replaced. Talk me through this fear that I think, man, most people that are just paying attention to this are feeling that kind of question mark coming up.
Right. Well, that is a question that's been brought up with every technological advancement over the past few hundred years, really. Is anyone going to have a job after the cotton gin is invented? But if you look here, this is in 1860, more than 50% of people in the United States worked in actual food production. Now it's just over 1%. And that's, yet we all still have jobs, right? And you think about it the other way, right now, again, in food production, the United States, the United Kingdom down there at the bottom, what percentage of the population of labor force is actually in food production? Less than 2%. So is it better to be Burundi, where everyone has a job in food production? No, yes, our jobs are going to change. And if we're still doing the same thing after the AI revolution that we were doing before, that probably means we're not being effective. It means we're not using the tools that are available. It means that we're living in the third world in terms of technology. And we want to be adopting and moving forward and see where that takes us. We've been working in business process automation for 20 years, a lot longer than we've had AI. We've changed a lot of jobs in that process. I think that we've made them better. I don't know of anyone that's been fired because of what we did.
Yeah, just to kind of end that point, a comment. The world is changing, the technology is changing, and whether or not you adopt it, the world will change, right? And so we could be left behind, or we could be a part of that change.
Right.
All right, so I feel like that was a great setting of the stage and kind of working through the buzz. So thanks, guys, for that. But let's talk about Oracle. I mean, let's start getting down to business with people who are attending this today. How's Oracle doing? How is Oracle positioned with AI? And let's get specific about healthcare. Andrew, lead us off here a little bit.
Yeah, well, for those of you in healthcare, you may have been following along in the news, but obviously Oracle has made a decision to choose healthcare as a strategic sector. They've, of course, purchased Cerner, electronic health records, and they are completely rewriting that system, complete revamp. They're building AI from the ground up into that product, and they're now producing a conversational AI product called the Clinical Digital Assistant. which we'll show you some data on a little bit later today. And so really, they're all in on healthcare. If you look at all the major enterprise software vendors, Oracle is more in on healthcare than anybody. And I think that's important. So both the admin side and the clinical side, you can tell they are heavily invested in this area. They're putting more into specifically AI in healthcare than anybody. I think, I don't want to, shill for Oracle. I've been critical of them in the past. I'm very open about those feelings. But, when I look at the data, I was at Cloud World recently, and I look at some of their announcements, and I kind of had a moment there where I realized, wait a second, Oracle, they own the enterprise software. They actually own the data centers, the computers this stuff runs on. And they provide AI tools to build your own AI, infuse AI. I don't think a single other enterprise software vendor can say that. That they own the software, they own the data center, and they own the AI capability.
It seems like Oracle's made an early commitment and I would say all in, but is really invested in this. And it feels like if you're within healthcare and you're serious, you want a partner that is fully committed to that. They're not dipping their toes in this. They're actively moving things forward. Paul, what do you think?
I'll throw in the grayer side of that perspective, and that those investments are there, but they're not all necessarily immediately apparent to the people who are working with PeopleSoft systems, for example, to do the administrative work of healthcare institutions. We've been hearing for a long time in the PeopleSoft world, we've been hearing about ODA, that you should be building chat into PeopleSoft using ODA. And then it was Picasso. And well, is that different than ODA? Well, no, it's all kind of, it's in there and there. But then I go to Cloud World and I can't find a single thing talking about ODA. And so the messaging is a little bit mixed. And we talk a lot, we hear from Oracle a lot about future stuff that, all this is going to be available. Well, we're here talking about, what can we do today? And the reality is that there are really great tools available right now. And we're using them at Gideon Taylor. We're using Oracle tools, and making great progress in that respect. That you have to kind of unpack what Oracle's talking about and how they're going about it to get down to what are we really able to do with AI in Oracle administrative systems right now.
Let's jump ahead. Any practical examples we could jump on? And I think people want to see like, hey, what are my colleagues doing, or what are other people? How are they using this? Andrew, do you have some thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I'll say outside of what Oracle is delivering out of the box with some of their clinical systems, on the admin side, I think the number one area there's the most amount of activity is in user support. Right? This is conversational AI. You might call it a chatbot. You might call it a digital assistant. You might even call it an agent, but having the ability to use knowledge-based articles and domain expertise to answer user questions such that they don't have to, wait on hold or call the help desk. So that's number one we see. And that's pretty low-hanging fruit because you can only go up from the traditional help desk experience. Right? It's hard to make it worse. So that's a good area to start with. The number two, I think, co-piloting, co-authoring type of tools, right? Help me write this job description, write this job posting for me, improve this email. That's more kind of on an individual user basis versus from the enterprise side, but that's probably the second most popular path. And we see a lot of folks just kind of taking the AI vendors are building into their software rather than understanding all the possibilities. So I would encourage all clients out there to understand all the possibilities, not just take what comes in, a service pack, for example. But in terms of actual real world results, this is actually a client of ours in the user support conversational AI space. They track every single interaction, right? They use ServiceNow to track every ticket, every phone call, every live chat, every email. And they showed me this data, and this even floored me. I didn't expect this kind of impact. They rolled out this technology in the summer. August was their busiest month. They were just getting, that was the start of the year. I think benefits enrollment, all that stuff, getting hammered. And by rolling out this AI assistant, they dropped phone volume by 40% and email volume by 65%. That is unbelievable. And that's real world data from a client.
That's awesome. The IDA effect. People are probably wondering what is that? Just we need to explain
that's
that.
the brand name of some technology we have that is
Okay.
multimodal AI that integrates with enterprise systems. But we're not here to talk about us, but that's what that is.
Right. But yeah, so that's an example that we've seen. And a lot of it, this data is proprietary. Everything's so new. We're not seeing a lot of that data published. And that'd be a reason why we've seen that impact through our tool. Paul, any comments on that? I was going to kind of keep us shuffling along.
Sure. No, I think that there's always the caution of chasing buzzwords. Agentic AI is again one of those buzzwords that people throw out there because it's the buzzword. Everyone is saying, yeah, we're doing this next. There's a lot of power that comes with AI agents, but again, a lot of the value in AI really comes from adopting stuff that's already available, like integration with with underlying data sources, going from just chat that comes from generally available information to chat that actually includes deep links and deep integrations with underlying systems, and that enables and moves forward processes that otherwise have to happen anyway. So those kind of it's easy to get out in front of your skis here and say, oh, we're gonna wait for agents, for agentic AI, and that's what's really going to take us home. Well, it would be helpful if you actually use what's available right now to help people get the work done that they're doing right now, with the equivalent of rocks and sticks in an age when we've got plenty of better tools available.
And I want to with healthcare, it's unique, and I think Andrew, you did a good job at the beginning, kind of talking about it's not a desk job. There's a lot of different things going on. Maybe talk about just the ROI and AI as it may relate specifically to healthcare.
Yeah. Well, two things maybe I would mention there. The first is let's talk about kind of employee support metrics. Gartner has done a lot of studies on help desks, right? They found that across industry, the average time to respond to a help desk question is 24 hours. In the world we're living on today, I don't think that's good enough. 24. Secondly, Gartner has determined that with each query to your help desk, it has a cost starting at $19 per call, per email, per ticket. That goes, and that's for the simple stuff. That's how do I reset my password? It goes much higher into the hundreds of dollars. So it's quite expensive. So for example, we have a client who just by automating some of this flow that went to a help desk, they were generating $1 million a month in ROI opportunity, right? Now, of course, to achieve that ROI, you have to downsize the help desk and the physical space, but they had that opportunity in front of them. That's a tremendous opportunity.
Right.
If you look on the clinical side, some of the data coming out of their early proof of concepts for the clinical digital assistant Oracle's delivering, some of this stuff is amazing, right? Documentation time reduction by 41%, saving doctors an average of 66 minutes per day. If you went into a meeting and you told your physicians, what if I could save you 66 minutes a day? Do you think you're going to get a vote of confidence? I do. And that's the kind
of
real
believe
results. Yeah. That they're seeing this is happening in the field.
It's remarkable.
These kinds of results. Now, don't get me wrong. To achieve these results, you can't half step it, right? You have to be all in. AI is not a project. It's a journey. But in these examples, these institutions, these organizations have leaned into AI and they are getting results.
Yeah, you're painting a picture of potential, and every situation is different, but we're seeing those kind of results. Gentlemen, I want to move on to AI adoption. Where we've got about 15 minutes left, and I want to make sure we get this. Before we move on to that section, is there anything else you guys want to hit on as we're talking about, AI and Oracle and the ecosystem and that kind of thing? Any final thoughts there?
Just so I want to make sure we save time to answer the questions in the chat about specifically about tools available applicable to PeopleSoft. So let's just save some time for that, and I think we can move to
Okay.
pitfalls.
All right, great. So what are really as we get down to getting specific here with what we're trying to accomplish, what are some of the common strategies? And I think people really are interested in how do we avoid pitfalls. So as a company, Gideon Taylor is really well positioned because we're dealing with a lot of companies that are adopting this. We have a good vision for this, and maybe we're developing some best practices. But kick us off. How do we introduce this concept to the audience? What are some of the things people could be thinking about?
I have a couple thoughts that come to mind. Things I see out there in the field. I think number one, low quality data, right? This could be structured data or unstructured data. I see many organizations, hey, let's feed the AI our knowledge base articles. Okay, no problem. When was the last time you updated that knowledge base article? Oh, it was about 36 months ago.
Yikes,
That's a problem, right? AI isn't magic. Again, it parrots the humans. So the humans got to stay up to date. So low quality data is always seems to be a pitfall. I also see organizationally this effort it's a well-intentioned effort, but to convert traditional programmers into AI engineers. And it's just such a different paradigm. They're not that closely related. So often organizations underestimate the challenges in doing that and taking someone from an if-then-else paradigm into probabilities with AI models and training data. It's not necessarily so easy to convert those folks. So be cautious there. I think another one is not understanding, the elbow grease it takes to really get results. Like I mentioned earlier, I see organizations being too splintered in their approach. Like, what does this mean? You always see this with service management, right? IT buys an ITSM system, service management system. Oh, we're going to deploy our AI here, right? And then HR buys this other, so we're going to deploy our AI here. And facilities does something, we're going to deploy our AI here. Your users don't care about your departments, right? They just want to get stuff done and questions answered. And so when I see organizations splinter and don't have a holistic strategy, it reminds me of the old SharePoint days, right? Where every department had a SharePoint site. And next thing you know, we were all looking up like, I can't find anything. And that's a pitfall for sure. And finally, I think I see a little bit too much playing fast and loose with security, not really understanding how it all works and what are the right questions to ask of vendors. That's probably my last pitfall there. But Paul,
how about you, Paul?
Yeah, just I think that the splintering effect, what I think about is if instead of having an Alexa in every room that can answer every question, if I had to go talk to Bob in the bedroom, if I wanted to get the weather, and Alice in the kitchen knew about sports scores and such forth, I had to walk around the house and talk to different AIs in order to get different answers. That's not going to be very effective, but that's what we're doing when we say, okay, well, yeah, the HR or the benefit system has its AI and the finance system has its AI. So and again, just coming back, I think underestimating the effort that it takes to make this applicable and to make it work is a huge deal, because I remember a project with a major health system where we spent, it was about a 5-month project automating their personnel actions. And looking back on it, and we learned things along the way. We changed the approach multiple times based on feedback and such forth. And at the end, when I was the developer on this, and at the end I said, this was a 5-month project, and I think that if the development time was instant, if you could just say, click, this is what I want you to build, and it was instantly done, it still would have been a 5-month project, because it took 5 months of mind changing and of process decisions to come about to the new way of doing things. And that's
That
going to
corporate
happen.
culture, right? That's
It's
got to change with.
It's not the tool and it's not the coding. And
Right.
going back to what Andrew said, a lot of the issue here is that the work in the AI world isn't coding anymore, and it's not like coding. It's more user work than it is coding work, and there's a lot of work to do. So get started.
Yeah, the cultural change within a company, that gets down to the individual employee, the process,
Oh, yeah.
everything. It's always a challenge, and it seems that this would be no different. Maybe even more challenging than some past
Right.
changes.
Yep.
Let's talk about your AI strategy. If an IT leader listening today, in the healthcare industry, wants to build an AI strategy for their organization, where do they start? What should that roadmap look like?
Well, I'm going to jump in and say it shouldn't be based on a tool. It shouldn't be based on, okay, we're gonna use X AI offering. It should be based on a team. You really need to build a governance team and an execution team. Really think about AI from a center of excellence point of view, of how are we going to use this broad category of technology along with other tools to make marked and revolutionary differences in how we accomplish business inside the organization. So building that tool internally, finding the right partner who can help to guide that. Of course, that can get into a little bit of horn tooting here, because we love to be that partner. Whether it's us or not, you need a partner who understands the space and isn't just an AI provider, because it's so easy for someone who's got a tool to say, all right, this is the tool that's going to fix everything. We need to be able to see past what the individual tools can accomplish and build a strategy that's AI enabled, not necessarily AI exclusive, in order for it to have a real impact across the organization.
Andrew, what are you thinking?
I think Paul makes great points. I don't have much to add there. I know we got Q&A to get to, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Sounds good. Before we get to the Q&A, for those of you who aren't familiar, we thought we'd take a second just to kind of introduce who Gideon Taylor is, just so you understand who we are, where we're coming from. We touched on that a little bit throughout, but Paul, do you want to just provide us a quick overview?
Sure. Just Gideon Taylor grew up in the PeopleSoft space. We've broadened out to really covering the whole Oracle ecosystem of enterprise software, and we're really focused on that user experience, including all of our end constituencies, but including core people as well, core business people, and really using business process automation, including our eForms offerings and our AI offerings, and really very broad services offerings to really approach enterprise computing in a way that's focused on letting your systems interact with your constituents in a way that reflects your values.
Awesome. And when just for timeline or any kind of relevant point around AI, we talked on that at the beginning, but when did AI start becoming a part of it, and maybe what's the current status of how AI is a part of the Gideon Taylor solutions that are being offered?
Well, Andrew was one of the founders of Intracy, which was focused on user experience in the PeopleSoft space, they really started to invest heavily in AI as part of that user experience focus. I think 2016, around there, Andrew.
Yep.
Um, in
That's awesome.
2021, Intraseed joined forces here with Gideon Taylor, and so it's been a big part of our focus ever since, and melding that offering with our other automation offerings.
I hadn't heard that. And Andrew, when you introduced yourself with the pioneer title, I totally see where you're coming from. Like you were really ahead of the curve before AI became so mainstream and just like the buzz. It was like pre-hype and everyone thought it was maybe vaporware or something like that. That's so cool. I hadn't heard that, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, certainly been ups and downs.
Yeah. Well, with anything,
writing, right?
yeah, with anything that's new, there's going to be, some turbulence, I guess. But that's really cool to hear. I want to invite Lisa back in to help us with some Q&A. And there's some things happening with the community. And I don't know if Lisa, you want to kind of talk to this slide a little bit and then help us through some of the questions that were thrown in.
Sure. We wanted to remind you that Reconnect Live is happening in Las Vegas at the Venetian, June 9th through 13th. Registration is open, and you can register now through February 24th at the lowest price. Prices will go up on the 24th, so register quickly.
That's awesome. And I want to say, on behalf of Gideon Taylor, really appreciate the Quest Oracle community and love being a part of that. So, thank you for everything, Lisa, you and your organization do. Let's go ahead and move to the Q&A session. I don't know, we all have access to some of the questions that have come in. If Paul, you or Andrew Sini, you want to dive into immediately, I'd say have at it. Otherwise, let's have Lisa maybe ask some of those questions. But go ahead, Paul. Andrew, do you see some that you want to respond to?
Sure.
I could jump into some of these if you like.
You go ahead, Andrew.
Sure. Okay, I'm going to repeat the question for everyone's benefit. So the first one we have here is, given that Workday and other competitors to Oracle are already integrating agentic AI concepts, how does the PeopleSoft ecosystem plan to evolve in this space? Are there strategic initiatives in place to adopt similar advancements, or is this not currently on PeopleSoft's application roadmap or Oracle's cloud solutions? Lots is being invested in Oracle Cloud, but my question would be more on the PeopleSoft application side. So, of course, I don't work for Oracle. I don't run their roadmap. I can only tell you my best guess based on past trends and observations. All the newest technologies, they're for sure seem to be releasing in Fusion. Some of those come back to PeopleSoft, but I can imagine maybe they don't want to do duplicative work on two different systems. Now, having said that, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Oracle is also a technology company, right? When you mention those competitors, remember, they're not only an applications company, they're a technology company. So some of the things they offer in Oracle Cloud are like semi-private large language models, fully private large language models, digital assistants, custom AI development platforms, integration platforms, Oracle 23 AI, which we haven't spoken about. But remember, Oracle is the data company, and data is the fuel for AI, right? So all the tools are there to deploy any of this in PeopleSoft. Many of our customers are PeopleSoft. So yes, it's not necessarily flip a switch out of the box, but all these tools work with PeopleSoft. We do it today. If you've seen any feature in Fusion using AI, every single one of those features we can deploy in PeopleSoft. We're doing that today. And then you can have AI your way, exactly how you want it, and not, cookie cutter. So that's kind of the long answer. I wouldn't necessarily wait around for these features to automatically be in PeopleSoft, but they are all available to you in the Oracle Cloud world.
That's great. Thank you.
And we're very invested in bringing those to PeopleSoft using Oracle tools. So let me go ahead and address the splintering question.
Really quick, I'm going to just put up the thank you slide while you answer this, and then Lisa can let us know when we're done, just so people have contact information. Please go ahead, Paul.
Very good. Thank you. So how does one address the splintering? The effort to get traction in any one chatbot is challenging, and the path of least resistance is to deploy the one offered by that vendor. Oracle has their chatbot, Snow has their chatbot, etc., chatbot for Epic, etc. So really, our approach is to say, yeah, one chatbot to rule them all. You need to pick an enterprise AI digital assistant that you hook into all the rest of this back-end systems so that it can front end all of them. So you get away from the splintering of the living room versus the bedroom and such forth. So we look to say, let's take the chat and deploy it in such a way that we can integrate it with all of these back-end systems so that one chat can answer questions from and automate processes from PeopleSoft, from Oracle Service, from ServiceNow, from Workday, from whatever, and that's the approach we like. And yes, otherwise if you just take what comes out of the box, you're going to have a dozen boxes, and it's going to be a splintered experience.
Okay. Lisa, do we have time for a few more questions? I know we're about at our time limit here. I just want to check in on. What was that? We do have another minute?
Sure, yeah. A few more minutes.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah. Do you guys see another question? I have one that I was going to ask, unless you see one in the chat that came up from today's session.
I think we've addressed chat questions. If we miss someone, please come off mute and tell us. Go ahead, Andrew.
I'll just add one more thing. When you use the software's built-in chat, you have virtually no control over the model. One of the benefits of using the technology platform to deploy AI is you have all the control. So, for example, if your security standards say, well, you can't share a large language model with other companies, and it has to be in the data center region of our country, sometimes of our state, right? You can't meet those objectives unless you use the technology platform. If you use the built-in AI, you're sharing it. It's not in a location that you approved. It's not in a data center that you even necessarily know of. So there are definitely some advantages there.
That's great. With that, we are at our time. And gentlemen, I hope I didn't usher you along too much, but I felt like we could have gone about 5 hours today.
Yeah.
There's so much content here.
That's what you're here for, Brad. You're supposed to keep a lid on us. So,
well, I tried, but I actually found a lot of, even though we'd gone through this, I learned a lot of new things today just with the, going through the live session. I thought it was really fascinating. I want to thank again, the Oracle, or the Quest Oracle community folks for helping us put this together. Thank you, Lisa. And to all the folks involved there, to Gideon, Taylor, and everyone else, thank you guys. Paul, you and Andrew for joining, and all of our attendees, thank you for joining. We do have a few ways here on this slide to connect with us. We try to publish good, useful, actionable content through our blog, and you can reach out directly to Paul and Andrew. I don't even get Paul's email address, so that's pretty cool. You all get access to that. And we look forward to seeing everyone out in the community this year. So thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to the Gideon Taylor team for this presentation. Thank you for attending today. And this session recording will be available following the conclusion of the event. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, everyone.